are some disturbing animal facts that are going to make you look at the animal kingdom differently. Your parents and teachers definitely wouldn't want me telling you any of these. So, listen the feck up. Now, flatworms definitely look like the kind of creature that God was bored on the day he made them. However, there is some fecked up shit going on in the flatworm species. For starters, all flatworms are actually born male. I've got to be very careful in how I phrase this next part, otherwise Papa TikTok will be very mad at me. All flatworms, as they are born male, will fight with their lightsabers, in which the loser of the duel gets injected and their lightsaber falls off, making them a female, and that's how flatworm females are made. Next up, sperm whales are very majestic creatures. No, they're fecking not, and let me tell you why. They can actually vibrate you to the next world. They are so physically massive that their clicks are so loud that they can vibrate you or cause an air bubble in your brain, making you meet your maker very quickly. Geese, these blue-eyed devils, are so strong that they can break your shins with their beaks. Dolphins are little shits. You know how you like going down to the lake and skipping some stones? Well, this complete menace enjoys that too. However, instead of using stones, they use feckin' stingrays. That's right, when they're bored, they swim down, catch them, bring them to the surface, and skip them along like they're a rock. I'm holding back the laughter, but it's still wrong. Next up, we've got baby sloths. If a baby sloth falls off its mother's back and down onto the forest floor, sadly, more often than not, the mother can't spare the energy to go down and get it, which, as you can imagine, doesn't necessarily end well for a baby sloth. And finally, we have pigeons. Now, I dislike these flying dodos as much as I dislike seagulls. However, I'm not kidding, they are capable mathematicians. I'll be honest, probably better than myself, I fucking hated maths. Just like non-human primates, they are capable of learning abstract mathematical concepts. However, they're complete menaces to their own society as shown in this video. My point proven, they literally just threw one of their own into the next world. Elon!
Terrifying websites you should never visit. Part 2. Crime scene photos. Trigger warning, this website is extremely graphic and not for the faint of heart. It shows real live crime scene photos and then explains them in depth. The website is a bit much and not for everyone, so I would definitely take that with a grain of salt. Comment down below and tag a friend if I should do a part 3.
Disturbing brain facts. 1. The brain will protect itself even if it means misery to you or death. If you're stuck in the middle of a cold place, your brain will fall asleep to conserve energy and never wake up again. Inhaling smoke in the middle of a burning house, your brain will make you stop breathing and pass out. 2. Your brain doesn't necessarily stop all activity the moment you are pronounced clinically dead. Up to 30 minutes of brain activity has been recorded after death. 3. Comment brain and I will DM you a brain hack you definitely have never heard about. 4. When you're falling asleep at night and your body jerks, this is called hypnic jerks. This happens because your brain thinks you're dying if your body falls asleep faster than your brain. 5. 90% of all illness and disease is stress-related. 6. Certain brain injuries or conditions can lead to spontaneous and uncontrollable bursts of aggressive or violent behavior, even in individuals who were previously non-violent. 7. Your eyeballs are an extension of your brain and are directly connected to it.
Scariest things found underwater. From Atlantic Ocean. Stone People. Chuk Lagoon. WW to Tank. From Little Traverse Bay. Jesus Statue. From Lake Lanier. Underwater ghost town to 150 plus towns. From Lake Neuchatel. Shark statue. From Antarctica. Ningen. From Minnesota Lake. Jason Voorhees statue.
This is the case of the girl that vanished into thin air. Her name is Yuki Onishi. On April 29th of 2005, 5-year-old Yuki was out celebrating Greenery Day with her mother. It's a national holiday in Japan, and what they do is they go out, they celebrate nature, and they collect bamboo shoots. So Yuki, her mom, and 60 other people were out doing this. Yuki was so excited that she found her first bamboo shoot, she showed her mother, and then she ran off to find more. That's when she disappeared and was never seen from again. When they realized that she was nowhere to be found, they actually brought in search dogs and the police. This is where it gets really strange. The dogs followed her scent to the middle of the forest and then just stopped. The scent stopped in the middle of the forest as if she had just disappeared into thin air from that spot. To this day, she has never been found and no one knows what happened. If you want to hear some theories, come back for part 2.
Deadliest disasters in human history, part 1. In 1986, the Space Shuttle Challenger broke apart 73 seconds into its flight, killing all 7 crew members aboard. The astronauts actually lived through the initial explosion and survived for nearly 3 minutes before they died on impact with the water. In 1184, a group of nobles gathered in a room in the Church of St. Peter above the latrine pit of the monks. All of a sudden, the floor collapsed due to their combined weight, causing 60 nobles to fall to their death into a pool of poop and sewage. In 1893, gifts were being passed out at a magic show in Victoria Hall. Over 1,000 kids tried to force themselves down a narrow staircase that led to a single door that opened inward. Only one child at a time could pass through, causing 183 children to be crushed to death.
Morbid Facts, Part 409. In November of '99, the girlfriend of Panthers wide receiver Ray Caruth was shot 4 times and later died in the hospital. It was soon determined that her NFL boyfriend had hired a hitman to kill her after she reportedly refused to abort their baby. The baby ended up surviving, and Caruth went to prison for 19 years before being released in 2018. During a tense pro basketball game in 1992, Serbian player Boban Jankovic was frustrated with a foul call and slammed his head into a padded concrete post. He immediately dropped to the floor and was never able to walk again after badly damaging his spinal cord. Earlier this year, 44-year-old Pennsylvania man John Matthew Chapman was sentenced to life in prison after driving his girlfriend across the country and luring her into a Nevada desert for a bondage photo shoot. He then bound her to a signpost with zip ties, taped her mouth and nose shut, and watched as she died.
Here's what would happen if every girl on Earth disappeared. So about 4 billion girls would be wiped out and the boys would be left to fend for themselves. And more than 70% of people in the medical field are actually females. So people would be dying left and right. Also, the entire school system would collapse. This is because most college students and professors are actually female. On top of that, 30 countries would lose their leaders and the world would fall into chaos. And then the boys would be left alone to go extinct.
Things humans weren't meant to see.
Gruesome Facts You Didn't Know, Part 252. This is the sandbox tree, a tree doing everything in its power to kill you. If its deadly appearance isn't enough to keep you away, maybe learning that its small fruits, which look like little pumpkins, actually become time bombs when they fully mature. With a loud bang, they will fling their hardened seeds up to 150 miles per hour and over 60 feet. To further add to that, the fruits are also poisonous and the sap can cause blindness and a painful red rash. This is a nose tomb located in Kyoto, Japan, which is filled with Korean noses. Japanese samurai would collect trophies from those they killed during wartime. Now, traditionally, it was the entire enemy's head, but due to how cumbersome it would be to take that many severed heads, they went with noses instead. The noses would be pickled and sent back to Japan. This tomb contains an estimated 38,000 noses. In July of 2018, a tofu worker in Indonesia named Sugito was out collecting grass and vegetables for his cattle when he accidentally wandered into a licensed crocodile sanctuary. It wasn't long until he was attacked and guards did hear his screams, but they couldn't save him. The next day, a mob of over 600 angry villagers stormed the sanctuary to take revenge. First destroying the office, then going after the reptiles. In total, they killed 292 crocodiles. After each crocodile was dead, it would be dragged and placed into a giant bloody pile, and then they would take selfies in front of it.
Morbid Facts, Part 408. American actor and model John Eric Hexum was once seen as the next big thing in Hollywood due to his charming looks, charisma, and radio voice. But in 1984, he died on the set of the TV show Cover Up after accidentally discharging a blank cartridge into his skull. Hexum had apparently been playing Russian roulette with a prop gun during a break in filming, and the muzzle blast caused enough blunt force trauma to fracture a piece of his skull that propelled into his brain. Serial killer Israel Keyes went the extra mile to ensure that he would never be detected. He had no preferred victim type and never killed in the same area twice. For one murder, he flew to Chicago and drove 1,000 miles all the way to Vermont in a rental car, then used a murder kit he'd hidden there 2 years prior. When shopping on his murder trips, he always kept his phone turned off and only ever paid in cash. But Keyes was caught in 2012 after using a victim's credit card when he didn't have any cash on hand.
This Jesus statue started leaking water and everybody thought it was a miracle until they realized it wasn't. In 2012, when water started dripping down this Jesus Christ statue in an Indian church, everybody thought it was a miracle. Hundreds of people would gather there every single day just to get a drink of this water. They thought it would cure diseases and even send them to heaven. But this guy right here wasn't buying it. His name is Sanal and he wanted to see it for himself. So he traveled across the world to see this statue and began his investigation. He searched the building next door where he found drain pipes that had bursted, and they were leaking everywhere. It turns out the water dripping down from the statue was actually sewage water. So the water people were collecting and drinking was literally poop. Sanal shared this information with everyone, but nobody wanted to hear it. Instead, he received threats and the church even sentenced him to prison.
Let's talk about the Arcadia tapes. In 2001, in Arcadia County, Ohio, a teen named Calvin Dim went missing on his way home from school. This was really unusual at the time because Calvin was actually a pretty well-accomplished athlete and he was very tall for his age, so whoever did overtake him and abduct him was either a larger person or a group of people. So for like weeks this investigation goes cold until a VHS tape is mysteriously found at the doorstep of his parents' house. The VHS was compiled of various different clips of unknown people in different masks who were just staring into the camera. But there is one clip in this video that had the words Cal, short for Calvin, edited into the VHS. This was pretty definitive evidence for the police that whoever made this video either knew where Calvin was, or they had him in their possession. Police would end up finding this frame, which showed a person in a black tarp, presumably with their wrists and ankles tied. Investigators believe this could be Calvin, and what's even eerier is they think this was shot in the woods behind his house.
This is the creepy story about the school trip. An entire class of 6th graders went on a school trip. Everyone was taking pictures with phones and cameras. When they returned back to school, everyone was looking through the photos when the one girl said, "Oh my god, what is that?" Everybody ran over to look at it. In the picture, one of the boys in the class was sitting on the bus. Nothing seemed strange about the photo until you looked very closely at his reflection in the window. His face in the reflection looked like it was yellow and bulging, bubbling and mutating, and there appeared to be a strange floating white thing beside him. When everyone turned the picture upside down, they realized it was a skull and it was horrific. When the boy saw the photo of himself, he burst into tears and immediately had a panic attack. The teacher had to send the boy to the nurse, and the principal banned everybody from ever speaking about the strange photo again. 7 days later, the boy in the photo died from a brain tumor.
Here's 5 things you won't believe you can buy off the dark web. The last one could have saved me a ton of money. Number 1 is fake passports for any country in the world. Now this is very dangerous because a lot of terrorists use this. Number 2 is a hitman. You can hire a contract killer to get the job done for you for approximately $5,000. Number 3 is credit card numbers. And since you can never know that an individual credit card has been canceled, these identity thieves sell them in batches of 100. Number 4 is a lifetime Netflix account for just $1. This account is paid for using stolen credit cards. Finally, at number 5, a fake college degree from the college of your choice.
The weirdest things humans were never meant to see. If you didn't know, this is what a snail drinking water looks like. It's actually super rare, and the fact we were able to capture it on camera is incredible. But what's more incredible is this octopus dreaming. And the reason why it's changing colors so much is because it's dreaming about different environments. So it's trying to blend in all of them.
Now I love dinosaurs as much as the next guy, but I think it's pretty safe to say there ain't no way in fuck I'm taking part in this shit. Cause here are some of the scariest extinct animals you'll be glad took the L. First up, we got the Therizinosaurus. Hey, literal Freddy Krueger of a dinosaur. If you don't believe me, what the fuck is that? They had 3 feet long claws. Now scientists say that they're most likely herbivores, but I'm sorry, evolution, what the fuck? Why have you given a herbivore 3 foot long claws to tear down the little plants? Meanwhile, you've given the T-Rex, the daddy meat-eating carnivore, little fucking Tootsie Rolls for arms. Me no comprende. Next up, we got the Meganeura. Now, I'm really not a fan of dragonflies nowadays. So a flying cocky fucker with a wingspan of 75 centimeters that resembles a dragonfly can fuck off. And finally, we got sea scorpions. Now, they're on the list purely for their size. I mean, what? They had a length of 8 feet and 3 inches. And when their claws were actually fully extended, that could add another 3 feet to their length. You know, just an 11.5 foot scorpion. We chillin'. Now, I don't mind scorpions. If this was a spider, nah!
This is Perfection, one of the worst videos on the dark web you should never go looking for, explained. Okay, so Perfection is a dark web video nobody should go looking for or even want to see. The video shows a woman peeling her nose and entire face off with a potato peeler, with literally zero expression or pain on her face throughout the entire time doing it. After she completely peeled off her face and nose, her jaw was just hanging down because there was no support from the cheeks anymore. There is a story about 3 friends who watched the entire Perfection video and 2 of them ended up dying. Many reports say that while watching the Perfection video, it somehow hypnotizes you and you end up doing what the girl did to herself and dying. But luckily for all of us, this video is literally impossible to find. It's extremely hard to find on the dark web, which means it's virtually impossible to find it on the normal web. This is honestly a video I would even stay curious on, because it comes from the dark web for starters, and it's extremely and utterly awful. Nobody knows who the girl is or why she's doing this to herself, and nobody knows who even made it. But the stories surrounding the video saying people get hypnotized and end up peeling their own face off and dying make it 100 times more scary, and should make you not want to watch it or even look for it. Perfection is regarded as one of the most unsettling and disturbing videos on the internet, and the mysterious origin and story of it make it truly an internet mystery.
Let's talk about a terrifying moment from the scariest game I have ever played. Lost in Vivo. In Lost in Vivo, your dog Danny has ventured into the sewer and it's our job to save him. Danny is our best friend, we can't let him get hurt. The sewer goes deeper and deeper, evolving into all sorts of random locations. We push on to find Danny, fighting through unspeakable horrors while we do so. Eventually we make our way to a mining area. And look, there's Danny, he even comes when we whistle. But wait a minute, why does he look a little off? Why does he sound like that? All of a sudden, Danny's body begins to open up. This is not your dog, and you need to run because it can smell your fear.
Terrifying facts you never knew. If your immune system ever found out that you have eyeballs, you would go blind. Which means right now your immune system has no clue that you can see. Because if it did, they would attack your eyeballs until you could no longer ever see. This is because your eyeballs have a protein in them called crystalline that doesn't exist anywhere else in your body. So if your immune system found out and checked them out, it would be like, something's wrong here. Studies show that most serial killers are born in November. Today's high school students have the same anxiety levels as insane asylum patients had in the 1950s. I'm not gonna lie to y'all, my anxiety might be up there too. There's a disease called fatal familial insomnia, where people suddenly one day lose their ability to fall asleep, which leads them to slowly go insane. They can't distinguish dreams from reality anymore and go into some type of paranoia. It becomes so severe that they eventually die. Those that make it to the final stage and don't die usually end up in a vegetated state, no longer conscious. And it can happen to any one of you. About 3,000 people go missing every year in the United States. The last execution by guillotine was in 1977. This was in France. And also that was the same year the first Star Wars movie came out. You are always 6 minutes away from death, but breathing resets the clock. In 2011, Anatoly Yakovlevich was arrested for having 12 dolls in his apartment. Only problem is, they weren't normal dolls. They were recently deceased little girls that had been dug up and dressed to be put on display. In 2012, a Burger King employee anonymously posted this to 4chan. It said, "This is the lettuce you eat at Burger King." It only took 20 minutes for people to track down the branch that he worked at, and he was fired. You really never know what people are doing to your food. H.H. Holmes was a serial killer who built a torture hotel in the 19th century. He had secret rooms with gas chambers, trap doors, and stairs that led to nowhere. He loved to play with his victims' minds. It was almost like a real-life Saw movie. There's a bridge in Scotland called the Overtoun Bridge, and for some reason, dogs keep jumping off of it at the same spot. Yeah, they just jump to their deaths. Experts can't figure out why either. Some people speculate it's a magnetic field or maybe a frequency that only they can hear, but others believe it's something supernatural. But whatever is making dogs jump off that bridge to their deaths is still to this day unexplained. Joe Matheny was an infamous serial killer who not only cooked his victims to eat for himself, but also made them into burgers using their remains. He then sold them to unsuspecting customers from a roadside food stand. We really never know what we eating. I'm cooking all my food myself. This is why I don't eat over people's house. In 2021, a new homeowner was shocked to find a boarded up wall. When he ripped the boards off the wall, he discovered a hole. In that hole was a doll clutching a note. The note saying that she killed a family who lived there in the 1960s. Be honest, would you move out? In 1978, there was a pilot named Frederick Valentin. Him and his plane disappeared in Australia. His last communication was, "Melbourne, that strange aircraft is hovering above me again." It is hovering and it is not an aircraft. This is a mugshot of William West and William West. Oh, and they're not related at all, but they were both sent to Leavenworth Prison at the exact same time in 1903. And after some confusion, the staff finally figured it out. They were two different people who had the exact same name and looked identical. This was said to be one of the main reasons why we now use fingerprints to identify somebody. There's biotech being developed as we speak that can make prisoners feel they are serving an 1,000-year sentence in a matter of 8 hours. That's horrifying. Imagine thinking you spent 1,000 years somewhere, and then when you wake up and snap out of it, you realize that it was only a couple hours. Do you know how crazy that is? Anyways, like this video if you want a part 2.